What's going on YouTube? So today we've got BMW's top dog SUV, the 2024 X7.
And even though it was just refreshed last year, BMW has continued to throw in some updates to make it even better.
So what are those updates? Let's go ahead and find out right now. All right, so let's kick things off here with our spec dump and under our hood. So this is the 40i model, which means we have a 3-liter turbocharged inline 6-cylinder, making 375 horsepower, 383 pound-feet of torque, which was enhanced last year with the refresh.
It's paired to an 8-speed automatic on all models. You also have standard xDrive all-wheel drive, and your fuel economy figures are 22 miles a gallon combined for this 40i model.
All right, so let's close up the hood, take a look at this exterior design before we take it out on the road and get things like our signature sound level reading. So when it comes to the exterior design, like we mentioned at the beginning, this was refreshed last year, which means it has the latest and greatest BMW design language, and it looks pretty similar to the flagship 7 Series sedan. Up front here, we've got our large signature kidney grills. As you can see, these are going to be blacked out on today's model. That's because we have the M Sport package, and that means we also have the much more aggressive lower fascia. So if you choose one of the luxury-oriented trim levels, this will all be kind of smooth. You'll have some chrome elements, but we have the full blacked out look. Additionally, our grille is illuminated. Now let's go over here and talk about the headlights. Like I was saying, latest BMW design, which means we have the split look. So down here we have our standard LED headlights. These are going to be adaptive. And up top here, we have our LED turn signal indicator, which is fading, and our daytime running light. Now, what is new? Well, you can now option on crystal headlights, the same as you can on the 7 Series sedan. And it doesn't really get any fancier than that, unless, of course, maybe they offered diamond headlights in the future. Now moving around to the rear design, this of course was also updated last year, but we do have one small update for 2024, which Mason is going to point out.
Yeah, so here in the back, you'll notice that we do have a fully blacked out design. That's because we have the M Sport package with the extended shadow line, which makes this part black, this connecting piece between the taillights. Gives it a nice stealthy look. But speaking of the taillights, let's go ahead and see if all three elements are LED. So our brake lights are LED, we have an LED reverse light, and not that any of you BMW drivers will use it, but we do have an LED turn signal indicator as well, and it does have the really cool kind of fading in and out animation here. I really like the way this looks. It has a very premium vibe to it. That was with the refresh last year. Now dropping down to the lower area, all of this is going to be very aggressive because we have the M Sport model. Of course, if you go for the regular X7, it's going to have a little bit more of a luxurious look, but this is the most aggressive look. We have dual integrated exhaust on each side. They're going to be quite large and trapezoidal. If you go for the M60i, it's going to have quad exhaust, and as far as your tow rating, we're looking at 7,500 pounds.
Next up, let's talk about some wheel options. As you expect from a BMW, tons of different choices. You start with 21-inch alloys. You have a lot of 22-inch alloys, such as these gloss black M Sport alloy wheels, and you can even get 23-inch alloys if you want something just absolutely enormous. Now, over in this area, I do want to mention that you do have adjustable height because we do have an air suspension. And in terms of the paint here, let's talk a little bit about this. This is called Carbon Black, but it has this really beautiful blue tint to it and a lot of different metallic flake in here. Just a gorgeous, gorgeous paint color. Now coming up here to our mirrors, fully loaded as you would expect. So that means you have heating, you have auto dimming, you have power folding, and of course, blind spot monitoring.
Now here at the side of the X7, you can tell that this is a long vehicle, and indeed it is, 203.3 inches in overall length. Now one thing worth noting is that these German large 3 rows do not offer any long wheelbase form, so this is just going to be the only configuration you can get the X7 in. Now as far as some of the design elements, blacked out window surrounds, blacked out roof rails up top, we do have a silver running board here, which is a little bit interesting for this particular model's blacked out design. But as far as your safety systems are concerned, we do have an update for 2024. So BMW is going to throw in 2 out of your 4 active safety features as standard equipment. And if you go for the Driving Assistance Professional package, that will throw in your remaining 2 systems, Adaptive Cruise Control and Lane Keeping Assist. Now the new feature is that you have a highway assistant, similar to what we've seen on the BMW 7 Series that allows for semi-autonomous, hands-free highway driving at speeds of up to 85 miles per hour. But guys, there is a beautifully crafted interior waiting for you, so let's go ahead and dive into that before we get out in the test drive.
All right, let's go ahead and climb inside. But first, we'll take a look at the key fob. This is the newest BMW key fob, as you see, kind of piano black with real metal trim on the outside edges. You have remote start built in as well. And to get inside, of course, just grab behind the handle that will unlock the door. Take a look inside of that beautiful cabin. It was just updated last year with the latest technology, but let's first talk about the seats and the materials on them. So you do have standard Sensafin leatherette. However, on this model, we have the extended merino leather. It's absolutely beautiful. This one here is Tartufo in color, but you can also get coffee, Canberra beige, or black. And the quilting details on this are really beautiful. And like I said, it feels super upscale and premium. Now, as far as the seats themselves, very adjustable. Standard 16-way, but we have the exec package, which means they're 20-way power adjusting. You also have power thigh extension, and you have 8 ways of massaging right over there on the door trim, as well as your 2-person memory seating. But let's go ahead and climb inside. And climbing inside here, we have just a very luxurious experience. And let's talk about the overall materials. So over here with our door trim, of course, you're going to find a fine selection. You have leather through here and the center, as well as all along the top, because with the merino leather, you also have the extended leather, which is going to go up on the door trim, as well as all across the upper dashboard with the nice stitching detail. Through the center section here, we have a beautiful wood trim. This one is finished a light color and it is gloss. And then down below, this is one of the things they added last year. This is an interactive light bar. It works with the virtual assistant. It also has different animations when you get in and out of the vehicle. And then finally down here at the bottom, more of this beautiful open pore wood. You have your glass controls and then leather running along the console. Now to start it up, just put your foot on the brake and press the standard push button start. But like always, let's go ahead and move into a first-person perspective. Take a close look at all the details of the cabin. The first place we'll start off with is our gauge cluster. So last year we got the updated dual display set up here. This is a 12.3-inch digital cockpit system, fully reconfigurable with all types of different settings and designs. And the same also goes for the standard head-up display. So you have a lot of different functions for this head-up display, and each drive mode does also give you a different design. Now as we pull back, you do have standard rain sensing wipers. And taking a look at the steering wheel, there's going to be a couple different designs. If you choose the M Sport model, that's going to get you the sporty 3-spoke design. You also have a 4-spoke option if you prefer the more traditional look. Regardless though, you will have standard power adjustment, and you'll also have standard heating. In addition to the heated steering wheel, you have the availability of heated armrests. Speaking of armrests, let's go over here to the other side and start to talk about interior storage. So I'll open this up. It does have the split design as typical with BMW, and we have a pretty nicely sized center console, relatively deep, does have a USB inside and a rubber lining at the bottom. But this is the flagship BMW SUV, so we're not going to store any coupons in here. Today we're going to store fat stacks of cash, and it does hold those just fine. By the way, those are fake, so don't come and rob us. Anyways, up here underneath of that piece of wood, you find your 2 cup holders. We have the executive package, so they're both heated and cooled. We also have a wireless phone charging pad, and this is our digital key, which I did not mention earlier. Now back behind that, we have our very small and subtle glass nub shifter. Just pull back for drive. You do have paddle shifters on the steering wheel. Press forward for reverse, and when you do, you will find a 360-degree camera system pop up if you've chosen the parking assistance package. Now this system does have some really cool features, including a 3D view. Everyone really likes this. You can spin all around the vehicle to see your surroundings. Really nice looking graphics on board with this. And you can also press the auto park button, and that will automatically parallel and perpendicular park you. And then right behind the shifter, you have the P for park and your electronic parking brake with brake hold. Next to that, you have your air suspension different settings. You have your drive modes, and you also have the control knob for the infotainment display. Now, as we move on up the dashboard, the next place we come to are our audio controls. Now, you have 3 different sound systems on board, but we've got a treat for you guys today because we have the highest end, the 20-speaker, 1500-watt Bauer and Wilkins sound system. So let's go ahead and give that a sample. Wow, so yeah, as you'd expect from a flagship luxury SUV, sound quality is absolutely stunning. Plus, it also includes these beautifully detailed speaker grills. All right, so let's move our attention now to the infotainment system. So this, of course, is the latest version. We have a 14.9-inch display. It is slightly curved and kind of floats out here on the dashboard, and it's running the latest BMW iDrive 8.0. If you've had a previous BMW, operation is not radically different than the previous iDrive versions. You do have things like wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, so you can load that up and see what that looks like. You do also have the built-in navigation system as well. Moving above that, we do have an auto-dimming mirror with 3 HomeLink universal remotes built in. As you would expect, we do also have a standard panoramic sunroof. Very large piece of glass, goes all the way back to the rear seat. But you might also see these little dots that are inside of the glass. That's because this is the Sky Lounge system. So basically it's ambient lighting built into the glass and lights up at night. And then finally, we do have the available anthracite Alcantara headliner.
Well guys, sitting in this X7's rear seat certainly makes you feel special because this is a special place to spend some time. Now, as far as the figures are concerned in terms of space, let's talk about that first. 37.6 inches of legroom, 39.9 inches of headroom. If you're keeping dibs on what this vehicle is compared to, it's going to be a little bit less than some of the big 3-row GM SUVs like the Tahoe and Escalade, but it's going to be right on par with what you get out of something like a Mercedes GLS for reference. Now, as far as the space between my knees and the seat back, we're looking at about, I'd say, 8 inches of space. I'm 5'9" for reference. The seat is adjusted to Drew, who's 5'8", and as far as how my feet slide up underneath the seat, I can just fit the tip in. Now, as far as the features are concerned, there are a lot of them. So here in the center, we're going to have vents. Let's go ahead and start knocking these boys out. So vents here, we also have them integrated into the B-pillar, so 4 vents in the rear. Also, additionally, we have our own climate controls for each rear passenger, so you can adjust your temperature completely independent. You'll see in just a little bit, there's actually another climate zone. And then over here on the side, you will notice that we have heated rear seats. That's going to be an option, so we can have the sweaty crack, as you would expect. And then down here below that, we have this little storage cubby. Maybe you could fit another stack of $100 bills back here. And then down below that, 12-volt outlet, 2 USB ports, 2 cup holders, more USB ports integrated into the seat backs as well. And then you're probably also noticing that we do have captain's chairs on this model. This is going to be an option on the X7. It makes it really nice and comfy. You have these armrests that are really nice. You can just really relax. And as far as the seat itself is concerned, you will notice that it's also power adjusting. So talk about a really nice feature. This and the Mercedes GLS are really some of the only SUVs that offer a power adjusting second row, and you are going to get that included on every X7. Additionally, we do have this really nice pillow, so I mean, I can take a nap almost as good as the ones that I had in calculus class when I got a little bit bored. Now, as far as other features, we're not done yet. Let's turn to the door trim. The door trim is going to be very nicely finished. We have leather on the upper part. We have leather on the armrest portion. And then in front of that, you'll notice all these switches. That's because we have rear window sunshades. They are going to be power, so you can have completely shaded rear area for your perfect naps. And then down in the bottom, we do have door storage. And let's go ahead and check out the third row in this X7. So in order to get back here, it's real nice and easy. You just lift this lever. When the seat senses that you've done that, it will go ahead and power slide out of the way. One thing I want to point out, you see how this is folded? I've been informed that this is really good for child seats, so you don't have to take them completely out. I don't have children, but we learned from the comment section that that's a useful feature for you all who do have children. Now, hopping back here into the third row. As far as the space is concerned back here, we're looking at about 33 inches of legroom, 36 inches of headroom. These are good figures for this segment of vehicle. It's not quite as big as something like a Cadillac Escalade, but it is still very large. Now, do keep in mind the seat is adjusted back in my nap position, so this is going to be a little bit further back than what you typically would have, and it is slid all the way back in its tracks. And really, for someone of my size, it's still not that bad. I can also slide my feet up underneath the seat, and the thigh support is really good in this rear area. Now, knocking out some of the features, let's talk about that. We have a leather armrest portion all through here. We have vents up in this part. We also have our own moonroof. So yes, the third row passengers are not going to get screwed in terms of seeing the stars at night. You can open this moonroof up and have a full open air experience even in the third row. Very nice feature. Now up here you will also notice all these controls. Because we have the climate comfort package, that means we have 5 zones of climate. So our third row passengers can adjust their temperature independent from all of the other zones in the cabin. We do also have third row heated seats as well. So sweaty crack even here in the third row. As far as how it lands on our third row rating scale, I'd say this is pretty much top tier. It's not exactly fit for a king, but I'd say it's perfectly fine for adults. Now walking up to the tailgate area, as you would expect, a hands-free power one is standard equipment on the BMW X7. So just kick your foot under the bumper to open it up. When you do, it will work really quite seamlessly. Open up the top portion of this tailgate. We do also have the bottom portion, so in signature X7 and X5 fashion, you do have that 2-part opening tailgate design, which is really fantastic for tailgating. So if that's something you do regularly, you will enjoy that in the X7. Now, as far as the cargo capacity figures, 12 cubic feet behind the third row seats. If we fold the third row down, we're going to have 48 cubic feet, and as a maximum, we're going to have 90 cubic feet of cargo capacity. Now, I push the button here on the side because we do have standard power folding third row. Now, one thing I do want to point out is that since we have the power adjusting captain's chairs on this X7, they don't fold fully flat. So do keep that in mind. If you're looking for maximum utility, you might want to opt for the different chair setup in the second row, because that does impact your usability for this X7. Now I'm gonna still try and get my measuring system here. If I can keep my ruler erect here, I can go all the way up to the second row area and try and get a length figure. Now it's curved a little bit towards the end, but I'm looking at about 80 inches to the rear of the cargo area. So I'd say if you're able to fit something in this cargo area, I'd say it'd be about a 70-inch flat screen TV. Additionally, there is underfloor storage that I want to point out. It's plenty enough to store some floor mats or whatnot underneath of here, which is actually a pretty good amount of space. And if you want the seats up, you just push the max person and all the seats will come right back up. Well guys, here we are behind the wheel of the 2024 BMW X7. We are incredibly excited to show you what this X7 is like out on the road. We will also be talking about a lot of different things that you can see on the screen right now. So let's go ahead and dive into it by getting a hard acceleration, talking about the powertrain specs.
So a quick punch of the accelerator, you're already above 50 miles per hour. Now, like we mentioned at the spec dump at the very beginning of the video, last year BMW enhanced the turbocharged inline 6-cylinder that this 40i model has bringing the total to 375 horsepower, 383 pound-feet of torque, which is about 40 horsepower more than it was previously. And honestly, that just really enhances the way we feel about this buttery smooth inline six-cylinder. It is just so nice behind the wheel. Really, power feels like it's delivered in a very effortless way, and it's also just supremely refined.
Now there is another engine option, that is the M60i, but it is completely unnecessary. It's definitely not one of those things you need to upgrade to, because this standard engine configuration is really exceptionally good. We've talked about it in our previous X7 reviews. It's just so good. 0 to 60 on this one is 5.6 seconds, so it's already very quick to start with. But if all of that doesn't sound good enough to you, they do offer the M60i. That's a 4.4 liter twin turbo V8 plus the mild hybrid setup, 523 horsepower on that, 553 pound-feet of torque. 0 to 60 is 4.5 seconds on that model.
This thing is just honestly shockingly quick, because this is a large luxury 3-row SUV. You just don't expect it to feel this quick, and we have the base engine.
Yeah.
I really love this turbo inline six. It is just great all around.
And we are on our designated strip of highway for our sound level reading. It's one of the things that we do in every Car Confections review, so we can compare and see the noise level entering into the cabin against all other large luxury 3-rows. So let's go ahead and get that. Wow. Oh, it switched on me at the very end. Wow. 51.6 decibels is what we are looking at in this 2024 BMW X7. Wow. So 51.6 decibels. That puts it as a very good reading. Let me go ahead and pull it up here. That means it is the #1 quietest option that we've tested out in the large luxury 3-row segment. It only tops the 2023 BMW X7 that we tested out last year by 0.3 decibels. So the X7 is indisputably the most quiet option in the segment. We've got that 2 years in a row. So very impressive.
I'm not really surprised by that, because it just sounds so quiet in here. It really is library quiet.
Yeah.
Let's also talk about the other aspects of the powertrain. 8-speed automatic transmission on board, very smooth, just like the engine. Really makes itself pretty much unknown, just kind of goes in the background, exactly what you want in a vehicle like this. We do have a standard all-wheel drive, and this is a mild hybrid. I don't know if we mentioned that earlier, but we have the 48-volt mild hybrid system. So what that does is essentially power and an advanced auto start-stop system is its main benefit. So this can actually shut off the engine when you're coasting before you come to a stop, things like that, to really save as much fuel as possible.
And it is one of the best auto start-stop systems that money can buy right now. And that does contribute to your really excellent fuel economy figure. We're sitting at 21 city, 25 highway, 22 miles a gallon combined for the 40i model. Very good fuel economy. Actually, a lot of 3-row mainstream products come in less than that and have about half as much horsepower. So very impressive fuel economy figures. The M60i model is going to drop that down to 18 miles a gallon combined. So you're going to have a little bit of a fuel economy deficit for that V8 one, but that's expected, of course, if you go for that.
Now, we don't really have any country roads on our route today, but I thought getting onto the highway here on the on-ramp would be a good time to talk a little bit about athleticism. This, of course, is a very luxury-focused model, but that doesn't mean that it gives up all of its BMW DNA. Since we have the adaptive air suspension we mentioned earlier, when I click it into sport mode, we have a lot of things to change the character. So first and foremost, enhanced throttle response. The steering gets heavier, but the suspension kind of gets more buttoned down, and it really works to control the body roll on this model a remarkable amount, so that this feels pretty sporty for a large 3-row SUV. That being said, even in the sport mode, still not giving up on the comfort, which is fantastic.
Yeah, we haven't talked about the ride quality yet, but I would say this BMW X7 is one of the best riding vehicles that money can buy, period. When you get in this, it's just so buttery smooth. Buttery smooth, you know, really everything just works in combination so well. The powertrain is buttery smooth, and then that just translates really nicely into a buttery smooth ride quality and a really quiet cabin. This is luxury, truly one of the most luxurious riding vehicles and driving experiences that you're going to get, regardless of how much money you're going to pay anywhere. It is exceptional. Like Drew said, we do have the air suspension, which obviously helps out with that, but it is really impressive, guys.
Right, and that is going to be today's slam dunk, that all-encompassing luxury experience. You can tell that BMW really went into all the details and thought about everything you're going to want in a luxury SUV, and they really delivered. Now, on the airball side of things, we discussed it, and we decided that it's probably going to be the space. Now, it does have pretty much exactly the same space as its biggest competitor, which would be the Mercedes GLS. That being said, I imagine one of the biggest reasons someone might not pick this is because things like an Escalade, that's going to be quite a bit bigger. Of course, those do serve different purposes, but you know, it is just something to keep in mind when you're looking at luxury 3-row SUVs. They're not all the same size, and this one's going to be, you know, on the smaller side of the segment.
Yeah, and you don't have the extended wheelbase option that a lot of those models do have. So just keep those things in mind. And lastly here, I do want to talk about your warranty information for the BMW X7. Now, you're going to be protected by BMW's signature warranty, which is 4-year, 50,000 miles for basic and powertrain. You do also get 3 years of complimentary maintenance, which is a really nice benefit that you don't see on Mercedes-Benz, and we all know how expensive these German vehicles can be to maintain, so that's going to be a little bit of a benefit that you get for going for this BMW X7. Now let's go ahead and talk pricing information for this X7. Now for 2024, prices are going to rise quite a bit. $4,000 on 40i models and $5,000 for M60i models. That means we're going to have a base price of $81,900. You have a wrap sheet of options as included with any BMW pretty much, plus $995 destination. We're looking at $103,475 for this particular X7 as equipped. Well guys, that's going to wrap up our in-depth review on the 2024 BMW X7. If you enjoyed this video or found it helpful in your purchasing decisions, we would really appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button down below. It helps gives us access to vehicles like these where we can extensively test out and review them for your knowledge. Now, if you're already a subscriber, we really appreciate your support. You're what makes us possible, so we definitely appreciate that. Also follow us on TikTok and Instagram, and we'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.